So I came to be the most unprofessional and mediocre podcaster ever. Hi, Stu.
Hey, that makes two of us. How you
Yeah,
doing,
by the
man?
way, which smart guy thought that your mom actually named you as Stu?
No, dude. There's one of we have you know what a Discord is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have like a Discord server, and one of the guys in there just dropped that in there. He's like, "You have some smooth brain fans, dude. Just idiots."
Yeah, but he thought that you are really named as Stu.
I don't know, man. Like people just call me Beef sometimes. It's really weird. Like you think my mother named me that? Good God.
Beef Stewart. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and the 5% Jack. It's a nice one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is Arizona green tea. Sponsor me.
it's my
There's
pleasure
no
to
tea in there.
welcome Stuart Sutherland, just for these who don't know you yet. And we knew ourselves for a while, and it took us a while to connect to make this podcast, but we are finally here. And how much left time to first competition? Because you already started the prep or not yet?
Not yet, no. I got my whiteboard over here. I'm gonna so my off season I got like 3 more weeks or so until like middle of January, and then like right around end of February I'm gonna start prepping for New York, about 12, 14 weeks out, I think. The 14, yeah.
Are you
Um,
doing any health phase before the?
yeah, yeah. So I'll have like a 5 or 6 week break in there. I usually like nowadays because of like some of the medications I'm taking and just being on top of my supplementation and stuff. My blood work is pretty good nowadays. Like even at the end of a long push, like a lot of drugs and everything. I got it done like 2 or 3 weeks ago actually, and it was like, this is like a full bore off season cycle. My cholesterol was in range on my LDL, but because I take medication for it. I'm keeping it under control. My HDL is terrible, but I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah,
Um,
most of us ours is.
yeah, that's always been low for me, but I've talked to a doctor about that stuff pretty openly, and he's like, yeah, just make sure your total cholesterol is good, make sure your LDL is under control, and make sure I've gotten echocardiograms done, like an ultrasound heart, a couple times now, and like I think I got them done like 2 years apart, and they were exactly the same. Like I got the same results. So, and like I put on like probably 40 pounds of muscle in that time frame, like a ton of tissue, and my heart was basically the same under an ultrasound. So that was a relief. I think that was probably about a year ago now. But yeah, I've been as I've gotten further into this, like I haven't necessarily backed off like what I'm doing as far as like anabolics or like pushing hard, but like I've taken steps to mitigate or to like limit the risk that I'm taking, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
I've named it especially to annoy you a little, the health phase, because I know that you hate it a lot.
yeah, yeah, call it a cruise or a
Yeah,
shit
because there
phase.
is nothing fucking healthy that we are doing. We can be
Yeah,
healthier, but it's not healthy. Let's face it.
yeah,
If someone
and
says
but
that bodybuilding at your level is healthy, he is quite delusional.
yeah, I mean, basically, the way I see this big picture is like, so I'm 26 now. You're pretty young. You're the same age, right? 26?
No, I just my
No?
face looks younger, but I'm 32 almost.
Oh shit, man.
Yeah,
Wow, lucky you. I'm gonna look like shit by the time I'm your age. Look like
but you're gonna still
45.
have your hair.
Hopefully. Yeah. I probably will actually. I probably will.
Are
Um,
your parents still having hair and so on?
I have a grandpa who is 101 years old. No, excuse me, 102 years old this year, and he has a full head of hair.
Yeah, it's the same
Uh,
with my grandmother. She's 98 and she got the full hair. That's what I
yeah.
think. We're
Yeah,
still,
yeah, you're
even
good.
after
You're good.
abusing the prima bola and so on, we are still,
Yeah. Count your blessings. But yeah, I mean, I've got some pretty good, strong health genes in my family, I think. Like I said, my grandpa's 102. Um, he's still walking around like his kidneys don't even work anymore, and he's still like, just kind of trucking along.
so he's
He's
on
he's
dialysis
super.
or did he had a replacement?
No, I mean, when you get to that age, things just stop working.
Okay.
And they basically just give him IVs from time to time. You know, putting a guy like that on dialysis would just it's way too intensive and like taxing for a 102-year-old. You know, he's not running around and doing a bunch of stuff. He sleeps most of the day, but I mean, he's still, you know, most people should be dead with his kidney function, but he's just, you know, still fine.
Not
Still have
even
a
about
drink.
the kidney function, but being 100 plus years old,
Yeah,
we're not really supposed
exactly.
to live like that long. About your medication, which do you take? Do you take any blood pressure? By the way, you're sponsored by Gasp.
Yeah, I got with Gasp a couple of months ago now, and they actually flew me down. Oh, there you go.
I'll be more
Oh, I
professional
was.
then. By the way,
Sweet.
those are not the marks of CEO. I just had a bad show.
Whatever you say, man.
Yeah, whatever fits me.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I went down to NPC Nationals a couple of weeks ago with and I got, you know, got to train with them, got to visit their gym and everything, and I like the whole team there. You know, we had a lot of fun. I think they had got some good feedback on the videos we did. But I'm gonna try to, you know, because the way that they run things with their athletes is like you kind of need to involve yourself in stuff. They're not gonna like necessarily reach out to you and be like, hey, we want you here or here or here, you know. But I enjoy going to these events and like training with people and hanging out and whatever. So I'm gonna try to do that as much as I can this year. We're going to be going to the Arnold Classic with my supplement sponsor, Apollon, and I know Gas was going to be there as well. So I'll be at the expo all 3 days for the Arnold, Ohio, and then hopefully I can link up with Gas at some point as well. But they haven't fleshed out their plan for that quite yet. It's still a little far out. Um, but yeah, you know, I've been kind of been a fan of their stuff for a long time. They're one of the few companies that is still making like bodybuilding clothing as opposed to like fitness clothing. And there's a difference, you know, there's like, you know, cut for a certain build a person. And then, you know, there's like the 19-year-old skinny kids who wear Gymsharks, which is fine. You know, it's like if that's floats your boat, if that's good for you, whatever. But you won't catch me wearing it.
Yeah,
So
you know, and about the medication you spoke about,
yeah,
because, you know, I watch each podcast of your buddy, and Compton has joined
yeah.
recently. I laughed so hard, but because when he joined, you suddenly were all like, you used to joke, you were joking, but since Justin joined, you were so professional suddenly. Suddenly you
I
were
didn't even
all like,
realize I was doing that. Yeah, you're
no
right.
more jokes.
Well, dude, we actually we had to cut a part of that out because we were talking about some stuff. But you know, just if you know Justin, like Justin is very outspoken, you know, he isn't afraid to talk about whatever. Um, you know, there's just certain things that we didn't want to have on our podcast because we have, you know, a bunch of like newer pros on there. We don't want to just ruin our careers immediately. So, but yeah, you know, he was really cool to talk to, and I've been a fan of him for ages. So, it was I did collect myself a bit. Um,
I was
but
even
yeah.
coached by Justin for, I mean,
Oh,
not
you were?
coached, I bought his plans, bought the
Okay.
plans from him, and he's a really smart guy. He doesn't overcomplicate shit, you know?
Yes, yeah, he's good at that. I know a bunch of guys that are coached by him now, and they're all very happy with working with him. And you're right, he basically he bulks you up hard and he diets you really hard, and he doesn't overcomplicate drugs and training, and he's, you know, he does bodybuilding. He doesn't, you know, try to find all the other crap that's not really bodybuilding related, you know, all the sciencey shit and all the whatever. Um, which I don't personally really care for all that much. Um, you know, something I actually used to be a bigger fan of like science kind of content in the bodybuilding world. You know, if do you know Scott Stevenson?
Of course.
Yeah, so like I think Scott is actually like the perfect balance of a guy who's, you know, he's obviously a doctor. He has been in doing, you know, research for ages. And he's also competed at a high level in bodybuilding. and he does a good job of like mixing those two worlds in a way that doesn't really disrespect one or the other. So he's looking at a study and he's trying to pick out something that's actually applicable, because how do I put this? He understands the limitations of research and the way that they do it in like a clinical setting. And I think a lot of people who are into science don't actually understand like the most important part of any experiment is understanding your limitations. You know, what variables can you control? What can you not control? But you know, they'll find like one kernel of truth, one conclusion to pull out of a study, and they'll just take it and run with it and apply it to everything. You know, and that's really not how you should do that. Um, the fact of the matter is, when you're trying to talk about like high level bodybuilding and what we're doing, it's like the you can't do studies on people eating 500 grams of protein a day, taking a bunch of steroids, taking a bunch of growth hormone, training really hard. That's one of the things that's really difficult to control for. Like if you're doing a study on like training to failure or not to failure, what does that mean to different people who don't bodybuild and don't know what that means? You know, it means nothing almost. You know, when you really can think about it, it's like, and you actually understand what real training looks like. So you know, take what's worthwhile, and just, you know, a lot of the rest of it can kind of be thrown out. You certainly shouldn't live your whole life by that. But I mean, again, to credit Scott Stevenson, he does a good job of like balancing the two and kind of mixing them together. I actually have a copy of his book I've been meaning to read. What's it called? Be Your Own Bodybuilding Coach.
Yeah, Steve,
Um,
by the Stevenson. Yeah.
yeah, there's a couple of, and I've got the Fortitude training book as well. I need to go over.
Yeah, the
Um,
one that on the first on the cover, he's like with the most muscular.
yeah, that one. Somebody sent me a copy of that. I need to read it, but yeah, he's a very good educator. You know, I don't know if he actually coaches people nowadays,
I
actually,
don't
but
think that he actually cares anymore. You know, there's a place of for science in bodybuilding, but we have to take small parts and apply them where they are needed, not like you know make every single thing around the studies. As you said, there are no studies on the people who are eating and abusing drugs because you
yeah,
wouldn't find a group of people like, yeah, let's get there 20 bodybuilders who are willing to basically die to look better, and let's make a studies on them. That
yeah.
was
Well, you couldn't get it past an ethics board. That's like you couldn't get the study approved. That's the main problem, and it would be unethical to do that too.
yeah,
So
but when it comes to movement, it actually can help. You yourself are, you know, doing, for example, single arm pullovers, but it's not like it's science. Dorian came with it in 93, 92.
yeah,
It's been there since 20 years. We're like rediscovering it because we were kind of lost. And still nowadays people are speaking like, you know, all in all days people used to look way better and so on. There was a group of people, like three, four, five people who looked incredible. They were genetic
hmm
marvels, and the rest were off. That's the truth. And you
just like nowadays,
really
actually,
agree with
it's
that.
ve- it's very similar to nowadays, except everyone's like 20 pounds bigger. Maybe
And
there's a
with shredded
little,
glutes.
yeah, exactly. And you know, other parts are softer for some reason, but yeah, it's just a slightly different look. It's not better or worse. It's just that's the only direction the sport can go. People get bigger and leaner, and you know, what do you expect?
Yeah, and why do you think that they are, for example, there are parts like lower back that is way less way lean than, for example, glutes. You know, because we see loads of straighter glutes, but we don't see, for example, Christmas trees. There was one guy, Nathan Diasha. He posted like, if there is
Yeah.
one asshole who is going to post pose with the Christmas tree and says that it came, he's deleted from my account. He's going to ban every idiot who is going to, you know, do it like this and say it's beginning to look like Christmas.
Okay, I won't do that then. Good to know. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. Like I've kind of seen it in myself to some extent. Like I still have pretty good separation and detail in most of me, but it's not like I was when I was 200 pounds. You know, it's like everything has grown so much and so quickly on me that I don't I don't know what's going on there. Maybe things are growing so quick and they just kind of like, crowd in on each other and you lose striations and you lose separation and everything. Um, because, on some guys that were like freaky big in like kind of the mid 2000s, they actually did have some of those details still, but then again, some of them didn't. I don't know. I think for the most part, like that hasn't started to ruin like my physique. But even if it did, like I wonder if it would even really matter all that much. Because if you look at the guys winning shows, and this isn't to like disrespect any of these guys, but just to name a few names, like Ian Vayer, he's retired now, but like he was really big and really conditioned, big structure guy, right? But like he didn't have detail and separation in hardly anything. But when you see him in real life in person, you can see how. Unfortunately, I never had the chance to see him in real life like this, but I've heard that like the skin, you can just see it's super thin and see through. Um, so you can tell he's very conditioned. You don't need to see individual glute striations to see that. Um, and what's his name? Mohammed Shaban, you know him? Like he's another guy who like grew very quickly. In the course of just a few years, he was the size of an open pro. And like he has literally like zero striations in all of his chest and delts and arms. Like there is like nothing there. But again, his glutes and hams are like stripped out. So I don't really know what's going on there, honestly. People might say, oh, it's because of, you know, injections or something. I mean, maybe.
Who injects the lower lats? For example, they said that
Yeah,
he had the bumps on there, and it was just, it was the structure that he has. Who injects the lower lats, like, their erectors and so on?
yeah. No one's doing that. It's very odd. You just see weird things happen when people grow really quickly and then get lean very quickly. It's like your body's not supposed to do that, and weird shit's gonna happen. That's about as much as I can say on the matter.
No, I think that there is loads to say about the lighting as well, because when we watch old
Yeah,
movies, they were basically the VHS quality. And
yeah.
when it's VHS, it's like, blurry. And then you see
Uh-huh.
every detail,
Grainy
almost
and
every
yeah.
detail. Now you have
And
all
you
of
know
the
what else they do?
lights.
They take like the old, because the video format used to be narrower that they used to film stuff on, and they'll stretch it out to like the regular video width that we're used to seeing on like YouTube or the TV or whatever. And it literally just stretches these guys out and makes them look wider. So like people will be watching the videos, are like, oh my God, they're so wide and so big and so detailed. It's like, yeah, they just pulled the video out. Like you're not processing that when you see it.
Yeah,
But
but Kevin, for example, he's the greatest, the one who said he stepped on the backstage and he was like, these guys are fucking big.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, when he was competing at his biggest, he was like, in the 240 to like 250 range. He
yeah,
never got up into like the 260s. And he was like 5'9", 5'10", right?
he's
He
my
wasn't.
height, so he's 5'11" at least.
Oh, so he's
Yeah,
taller than you.
bodybuilders are always like 5'9", 5'6", 5'7". They're
Yeah.
never like 5'11", 6.0. Samson
Yeah.
is almost the only one who says that he's 6.1.
Yeah. And he's actually that big.
He is.
Um, yeah. I'm 5'8". That is actually my real height. I swear to God.
Be
And
careful because Kanevsky might check it.
oh man, I love that guy. I
Yeah,
love
he's
him.
funny. He's hilarious.
I might be 5'8.5" with my hair grown out, but we gotta wait on that. So um but yeah, like I competed at like 253 this year in California. I think I can still push my conditioning harder next year, which I'm planning on doing, but like, that's shorter and heavier than a lot of the guys in the 90s. And I'm still, pretty young. So the numbers are just, they tell the truth there. It's like everyone's just bigger and harder than back then. And it's different.
You started as a classic, and then you discovered quickly that it's not your route. But
Well, yeah, dude. I mean, I was 20 at the time, and I did my first show. I was really originally going to do board shorts, just men's physique. And then one of my buddies who was doing bodybuilding, he was like, "Oh, you're a pussy," and I was like, "Okay, fine, I'll do classic instead. I'll compromise, because I knew I wasn't big enough for bodybuilding, or that's what I told myself at the time." Um, but yeah, I was like, five. I used to hide in at like 5'9" there, so my weight cap was like 185. This was back in 2017 when the weights were lower, and I think I weighed in at 180. This was with no drugs yet. I hadn't started taking hormones yet, so I was like, okay, I don't look good at this weight, and I'm not even in full condition, right? So, like, how much more? If I get to the top of this weight class for classic, like, I'm not going to look good. So I knew right off the bat I have to be an open bodybuilder, and as I filled out my frame more and more, like I've started to look like a bodybuilder. But back then, like I didn't have any lats, I didn't have any quad sweep, I didn't have anything. So like my physique just didn't look like anything. I think a lot of people who do classic do it just because not necessarily because it's easier, but because it seems more accessible. Like all the guys in that division are smaller, and they don't feel like they're gonna get blown out of the water by, big bodybuilders that they're, way smaller than. And they don't have the shape, they don't have the structure to win shows in that division. I mean, you should have seen the nationals, like the lineup of classic guys there. There were, first of all, there were like 40 to 60 guys in each height class, and there were 4 height classes. So like just like over 100, like 150
There are
classic guys,
7
probably
in Europe,
7.
up to F.
Oh my God. I think there might have been more than 4 actually. I'm not sure. But yeah, a ton of height classes, a ton of guys competing. And like honestly, the guys in classic were arguably more competitive than a lot of the bodybuilding classes.
But
And
do
I
you think
think
that it's because they are just not grown yet bodybuilders and they look basically the same? Because
that's what
I
I
I
think.
happen,
For example, this guy who is 19, he's a classic. The guy
You're
that
talking about
is a
the
classic,
Anton guy,
yes,
the
he's
young guy.
classic. We can call him
Hmm.
a classic. And the rest, when I watched him, I'm like, you just need time to be a bodybuilder. You are not going to go well in classic.
Yeah. Yeah, that I agree. I mean, there's a couple of guys in there that are like pretty impressive. Yeah, and they had like the sweeping quads and the big lats and everything. And yeah, so they looked like right in the division, but it was maybe like half of the class winners looked like that. And I think the rest of them were just small bodybuilders. And the fact of the matter is, say you turned pro at like 205 pounds and you're 5'9". Like you're going to have to put on 40 pounds of muscle before you can compete in an open pro show. Since you just got your pro card, right? You're going to have to put on all that muscle to be able to be competitive in the open. And like, dude, that is like 3 to 5 years of just 100% getting after it. Uh, and that's a big commitment for somebody, you know, who maybe they like to compete a lot. Maybe they want to be on stage and they want to build their social media following or whatever. It's if they're making money, good for them. But yeah, they don't
But how
do it
many
for.
people are making money? You know it the best that it's not
Mm,
easy to make money in bodybuilding.
yeah, through the sport, through the actual sport itself, you can take a pretty middle of the road competitive physique and use it to market yourself as a good coach, even if you're not, or like use it to like market supplements or something. So you can take different avenues. When I say make money, it's not from winning shows or anything.
Yeah, you don't really have to even compete, to be honest. Let's see Sam
Yeah.
Sulek, for example. He's making like I have yet to check, but when they spoke at the Joe Rogan, they were like he's making 1 million from YouTube yearly. $1 million
More,
from YouTube.
it's more than that.
It's even
Uh,
more than that.
I was I
Imagine,
was I was talking to Ben Chow.
yeah.
He's with Hostile too. At Nationals, it's more than that. The funny thing is that guy is not even spending it on anything. Like he hasn't
21.
bought anything. Yeah, he's remarkably grounded. For he's and it hasn't gone to his head.
Why do you think
Uh,
he's popular? Because actually we miss those times when we were just like
rough, going to the gym, eating shit, because we all went through it.
Yeah.
Basically, all of those old people who are now criticizing him, they suddenly forgot how they used to be when they were his age. We all age.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. I look back, like I had my chocolate milk phase. I used to drink a lot of chocolate milk and I got pretty fat doing it. But you know, there's a little bit of nostalgia for like guys like us who are like more serious into the sport now, and like we think back and like, oh yeah, this is back when it was like not that serious and it was more fun. But I think that's not most of his followers. Most of his fans are in the 18 to like 23, 25 kind of age range. So like they're young and they're, I hope this kind of makes sense because we're, English is a rich language, but they're doing something called a parasocial relationship. So a parasocial relationship is where you have like a public figure, somebody on the internet or in the public eye that you feel like you're friends with, but it's a one directional thing. So like you feel like you could be Sam's friend, but Sam doesn't know you exist, and he shares so much of himself and so much of his life on the internet that it's like, yeah, like I feel like I could be this guy's friends. He's a cool dude. So you have a lot of, young guys who, probably don't have any social skills. They're awkward. They go to the gym. Maybe they don't have a lot going on in their life. And this isn't to disparage, this isn't to like talk down on his fan base or anything. This is just something that you see
But
nowadays
most of
in
us were
society.
like this. Most of us were
Yeah,
like this.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
not insulting anyone, because most of us started the sport. Why? Because we had some kind of imbalances or some kind of trauma that lead us there. Either it was a breakup, either it was something like two small arms or something like this that we visualized that could be better.
Yeah. So, for whatever reason, the reason why, like, what I don't understand is how quickly he's grown. Because, like, there's a lot of people who are, like, kind of popular in the same kind of way, but they didn't get, 2 million subscribers in like 6 months. That's insane. Like, the rate of growth is insane. And, I get, what's going through my head is like, where does he take it from here? Is he just going to keep the content exactly the same, or is he going to evolve it? Like, I don't know, but like he has a very loyal fan base, I think, and they're going to stick around with him because they love him.
I think, you know why? Because people started to seek for the controversy and they gave him a name, because they used to speak about him so loudly that he was firstly like, 500,000, then it was 1 million. And then the people like Greg Doucette started to do the videos like, fuck.
Greg Doucette's just looking for something to be mad about. The guy sucks. I mean, I really don't like him. And that, I
I
mean,
used to like him when he used to make good videos about training.
Years ago. Yeah. Long time ago. But like, man, his entire shtick, like his whole thing is like he just shits on people. He doesn't say anything positive as far as I can tell. I don't follow the guy because he's just his voice is so annoying. It sounds like nails on a chalkboard. But yeah, he's just played out.
I think that's a character plate, I think that he's
it definitely is. It definitely is. It's just I don't like it when people play characters on the internet. And you can tell, like with Sam is not playing a character on the internet. He is just being himself, and people happen to like that. And he's normal and like appealing, and that's why he's successful, and that's why he will continue to be successful because he's genuine. And a guy like Greg, his popularity will go up and down, and it'll be he'll only get a lot of popularity when he's getting in a fight with somebody or there's controversy, and that brings eyeballs to it. And that's a good way to bring publicity to yourself, but it's not wholesome. It's not something I want to watch on my free time. Like just two people on the internet fighting each other. Fuck off. I don't like that.
I'd rather spend this time, literally like doing Lego.
Yeah, or play video games, like whatever, man. Just other shit to do. No negativity.
Yeah. People even mistaken you for the Sam, just like Sam Sulek on trend.
Yeah, well, before I cut my hair, yeah, I had longer hair like him, but there's one dude who walked up to me in San Diego and asked me if my name was Sam, and I was like, man, what the fuck? What am I doing?
But still, you know, it gives you some kind of recognition.
Yeah, I'm definitely growing the hair back out. So
You know, there is a saying that there is no such thing as bad recognition. Yet I think there is when it comes to your real life, because suddenly you sometimes forget what is an act and what is your true character and your true behavior.
and that's the thing, like that I was saying, like Sam isn't acting.
Yeah.
Greg Doucette is. Like what I do on the internet is not acting. I do crappy commercials sometimes for my sponsors, which
Those
is
are
like
fucking great.
they're purposefully bad acting, right? So that's kind of funny. But I mean, dude, I'm just kind of being myself. And so like fortunate, like if you're just yourself on the internet and nobody likes it, that sucks. And you're gonna have to like change things up to like if you want to have any kind of like presence, right? But like I haven't needed to do that, fortunately. I guess I'm a little different, which people like. But you know, you try not to think about it and just try to keep on doing what you're doing because that's what's gotten you here. You know, it's still focused primarily on bodybuilding stuff, and you know, I just need to go out of my way now to like share more of what I do because like if it were up to me, I'd be doing this and nobody would know about it. But you know, that's not an option now. It's my
Yeah,
job.
I'm still
So
waiting for the second vlog because you haven't posted it yet.
yeah.
And it is like it is, I bet it's like
I've filmed like 4 or 5 training sessions that I
and
just
they
haven't
just
gone and
just post them.
yeah, it's on the to-do list on my whiteboard right here. I'm dude, my schedule and my schedule has just been so fucked since I
Nah,
stopped.
let's face it, you just don't want to do it.
Yeah, that's part of it, definitely. But
Yeah.
like I just like I start procrastinating stuff because I'm not like I'm going to bed at different times and I don't have like a job to show up to in the morning like I used to when I was down in Arizona. And it's just gonna take some getting used to. I'm getting better at it, but it's like a totally different lifestyle now. It's weird.
You said good things about this being like a fake friend because most of people, you know, they for example message people from the bro chat and they're like, you know,
Hmm.
making the same jokes that they do. I even myself, even though we speak, I have my barriers. I know which not to cross because I know
Yeah.
that we're not the buddies in real life and so on, and we don't shake hands, we don't sleep together, blah blah blah, we don't eat meals. There are some barriers that you are not supposed to cross. And you know, as you said, someone sometimes comes and it's a blessing and a curse of social media, and they're like, you know, coming to Nick Walker and saying, hey, an S-man. And he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like if you didn't know who that was, like as far as he's concerned, you're a stranger and you just said some crazy shit to him. So and like that happens every once in a while. Like if I go to like an expo or something, people recognize me and reference jokes that I've made or some shit. Like it's very weird. Like I don't know you, and you're saying all this stuff like you know me because I guess you kind of do, but you really don't. You know, it's an odd thing to wrap your head around. I don't. I don't hold it against anybody. I think they're just awkward. You know, they don't know how to act when they see somebody that they're a fan of. Um, but yeah, it's very uncomfortable sometimes.
When you said that you were natty when you competed as classic,
Well, I hadn't taken any hormones yet. I had taken some SARMs and some clenbuterol. Yeah, I know. Ask me if they did anything. They didn't.
you know, there are things like cardamom that help and so on, but it's a SARM. You can't,
Yeah,
it's,
just take some fucking Anadrol, dude. Grow a pair.
you know, there are things that they can help, but in what percent? You know, peptides work. We know it. We know that
Hmm.
PPC works and TP works. And sometimes people take the shortcut, not knowing that, for example, SARMs can fuck you up in the, you know, in the your pituitary gland,
Hmm.
and they can do the same damage as testosterone. So why not
Well,
just shoot your ass?
I mean, the thing is, it's entirely marketing based, and this is what got me. when I was 20 years old. I was watching Tony Huge. He was like the only guy talking about drugs on the internet at that point, him and like Boston Lloyd. Um, and
Sorry to interrupt you, but when we spoke about Justin, I remember first interview he has done with Fuad. He was like, once I meet Tony Huge, I'm going to slap him in the fucking face.
yeah, yeah, that sounds like Justin. I mean, listen, I listened to Tony's advice because I was a stupid kid, and I take responsibility for doing dumb shit because I was following his advice, you know. But I mean, that was about all I could find information on. I didn't have any friends who were bodybuilding or using drugs, you know, so I didn't know who to listen to. And there's one guy talking, so I listened to him, and he was selling SARMs to dumb kids like me, so I bought them. I bought them from his website,
He
and
wasn't even selling like SARMs. He was selling the Prohormones, I think.
no, this back then he was selling SARMs. He was just selling them like in bottles, like it was no big deal. Yeah, I don't think he does that anymore, but
I don't think that he
yeah.
has to because, you know, he had enough of income already to not care. But who to listen to then? Because, you know, you yourself, for example, let's speak like we speak. You know, we are on the level that we are like 250 both on stage.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit taller, so I look like shit compared to you. But
You looked really good this year, actually.
I was good,
So
but I was still, you know, not enough. But
you gotta get in with those European judges, I've heard. But anyways, that's neither here nor there.
yeah, yeah, I heard as well. But you know, for example, when we speak now about the dosages, and I tell that I'm using, for example, 500 test, you are saying like you are using 650. If you say that you run, for example, 2 grams, they're going to call you a crazy man. If you say that you're running 250, they will call you a liar. So nowadays it turned into a whole fucked up thing when you, when, for example, you can speak about, I don't know, the diarrhea you had last day, and people are going to believe in the most crazy things. And when it comes to drugs, they are going to be like, nah, he's lying, or nah, he's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever go on like the like professional muscle forum or any of those forums. Like a lot of the guys on there are like I think they're older and maybe they're not actually like in with the guys who are doing the sport. Or maybe they've been using steroids for a long time in higher dosages, and they don't look like professionals yet, and they just think like, oh, so and so must be using twice as much as me, you know. And you're right, you know, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. No one's going to believe you. So why bother? I mean, I just feel I like I will say like on average, both in prep and in off season, like plus or minus a few hundred milligrams, I'm like 1.8 to 2 grams roughly. A
A
total
total
dosage.
amount, not,
Total, yeah, total
and of
everything.
course not
So
counting the things like GH and so on, because
yeah,
I
yeah.
know how blue operates as well.
Ha, yeah, yeah, a whole lot of that. But yeah, I mean that's about where I've been for the last 2 to 3 years. I haven't had to ramp things up a bunch. I've just kind of continued to progress on those dosages. People will hear that and say bullshit. People will hear that and say I'm crazy. And like I think that that's actually pretty typical for a guy about my size or like if you're like a heavyweight or bigger, like a heavyweight, a super heavyweight, or an open pro, um, and you don't have like insane genetics to build muscle on like very low drugs, because some people are like that. You know, most of them are black, like, but that's not me, right? But like those people are out there. I think the 1.5 to 2 gram range is maybe a little bit up to like 2.2, maybe 2.5. That's about typical. Everyone's going to be a little different, but like, um, I can manage my blood work on that amount. I feel pretty good on that amount. And eventually, a few years from now, because I'm still trying to grow, eventually a few years from now, if I'm 255, 260 on stage in very good condition, I don't need to push a bunch of drugs all the time like I'm doing now in order to continue to grow. Like it's just not necessary.
So what changed in your approach if drugs remain the same?
Like over the last few years.
Yeah, like you were eating more, training less, training harder, training smarter.
You know, my training has always been pretty similar for like last 5 or 6 years. I'd say the big difference when I started working with Blue 3 years ago now, it's like almost 3 years on the day that we've been working together. He ramped up my growth hormone from, I mean, I'd really barely used it prior to working with him. But like basically ramped it up to like 5 units. And then he was like, how much can you afford? And I was like, 10. I could do 10 a day. He's like, do it. And I just stayed on, basically been on 10 since then, for the most part. And, you know, taking a high dose for a long enough time, and then, you know, continuing to train and eat and all that stuff in the meantime, it's like that's where you see like growth hormone is a long game. Like you're not going to see, you'll see effects from it quickly, but you're not going to see 20 pounds of muscle until, you know, 3 or 4 years from now because of the way that it works. You know, it's creating new muscle cells. And when you have a new muscle cell, it's very small. So you have to train it, you have to feed it, you have to grow that new muscle cell to be as big as all the other ones that were already there. And then, you know, it's going to kind of raise the potential.
The hyperplasia, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, so when people start taking like low to moderate doses of it and they're not seeing much of any result, they're like, why don't I look like Phil Heath yet? Like, well, you have to do it for a long time. And, you know,
But you are still not going to look like Phil Heath. There is no fucking way.
Yeah, well, that's true. But yeah, it's a long game and it's expensive, you know. It's probably the worst financial choice that I've made in my whole life. But here we are. So
Pharma or UGL?
I'm a generic guy. My friends call me the generic king. I've never used any pharmaceutical stuff. I mean,
Really
there's a lot of fake pharmaceutical and there's a lot of fake generic stuff out there. So just do your research as best you can. And I will say if you see people on Instagram or on the internet saying all generics are fake, they're garbage, they don't work. First of all, look at me. And second of all, ask if they are selling growth hormone. Because if they are selling growth hormone, they have an incentive to convince you to buy their growth hormone. You know, it's not that complicated.
Like, duh.
Yeah, right. So, you know, see what's going on there. And it might be, you know, in their interest. But yeah, it's like I said, it's just a long game. It's expensive. And also you might just not respond as well as some other people. Like I have buddies who've been running similar kind of dosages for similar amounts of time, and they've made good progress, but not like I have, you know. I think I just responded very well to that particular drug.
So what's the plan now? For example, like we are doing the New York Pro. We know that basically probably Rubiel is doing it.
There's a lot of guys doing New York, and I am not expecting to do well in that lineup, honestly. You know, not only are there big name, like not only are there good competitors there, but like they're big names, you know, people that it makes sense to place them well. I'm still not a big name. So you know, that's just reality. But you know, so there's New York, California, and Toronto. Those are all like there's like 1 week between the first two and 2 weeks between California and Toronto. So I'm going to hit those three. And then there's like a 6 week break. And then there's another three shows, Chicago, Tampa, and Texas.
Why are you not going to do any European shows?
Because it's like $1,500 to fly over there.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually, maybe you could put this in Roman's ear for me, since you know him as well. The only way that I am going to be able to compete at the European shows is if I could like fly over there once, like from here to wherever the first show is, and then shack up with somebody and like stay with them for a couple of weeks, during the season over there. Because like it doesn't make sense money wise. You're spending a ton of money on the flight, and then you have to get a hotel for like, 2 to 3 weeks maybe while you're staying over there. And you're doing like 2 or 3 shows, and then you have to come back, and what if you don't win any money? I mean, the European judges don't know me. Why are they going to place me above any of the European guys that they want to see do well?
To be honest, actually, when I saw the IFLS and so on, they actually judge it really fair.
Unless Regan's there, yeah.
Unless Milos card, yeah.
Milos, and yeah. Well, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I mean, dude, I would love to go. I haven't been to Europe since like it's been a decade now. I went to
we
Ireland.
wanted to hook up when you were supposed to fly to Arnold Classic.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not happening. But actually, when is FIBO? Is that still
It's
the
in
FIBO
March.
Expo? Okay, I've always kind of wanted to go to that. Is it still like a big
It's
expo
getting
for
bigger. It's
bodybuilding?
actually getting bigger because last year there was still kind of reminiscent of the lockdown things, and
Okay.
this year it's going to be huge, really huge, because Germans are not really like they basically started to do a pro shows now, but you won't be really happy because they have done only they have came up with the bikini wellness and men's physique and classic. So there is no bodybuilding as in Germany, which is damn weird because
Because
Germany
there's a ton of bodybuilders there, right?
bodybuilders, coaches, for example, Stefan Kinzel, he lives really close. There is
Oh, Stefan?
Stefan
Yeah,
from
okay.
Outlaw.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yes, you know who joined him, by the way?
Martin did, didn't he?
Bonac.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just saw it. Bonac joined him.
I've heard a lot of good things about him. He
He's
seems like
he's like he really reminds me of Blue and Justin.
yeah, he's very communicative, a lot of little details and stuff, and that's a good way to coach at a high level because all that stuff matters.
Yeah,
So
but Blue is even too much
blue is
of a
blue is another level.
Yeah, he's like have an AKG 30 minutes pre-meal number 4 and so on because I've got his plan.
Yeah, he's it works. I'm gonna sit here and say it works. I'll tell you what though, as I've because I've been with him for so long now, like the relationship that I have with him now as opposed to like when I started is very different. Sometimes he'll just call me to vent about stuff and talk about whatever. He's a good friend of mine at this point, which is very cool. That kind of it doesn't really affect the way that he coaches me. I'd say that we communicate pretty well. We're kind of on the same page. But like 2 years ago, like if I told him, I would never have told him, like, hey, I'm feeling really flat and depleted. I think I need a refeed. And I did that like multiple times this year, because I like a few years ago it would have been like, oh, he's gonna think I'm a pussy. Like I can't say anything. And that actually ended up hurting my look in the first show that we did together.
Yeah, because
But
Blue
then
basically doesn't leave house, so he's not going to see you in real life.
he never leaves his house. I was actually one of the lucky people who did get to see him in person a few times, because he lives in Oregon. He lives in Portland, and I used to live in Portland. And I've gone back to visit him every once in a while at the gym there. And I'm like a 3-hour drive away from there now, so I can go and visit him if I need to. I'll probably be seeing him at some point during this prep next year, but yeah, he, as you said, he doesn't leave his house. He's very busy. He doesn't know how to stop working. He keeps on saying like, yeah, I gotta like tone down the number of clients I have. I gotta offload some people. And then he's been saying it for 3 years now. He hasn't done it. So
Yeah, he basically doesn't sleep, I know, because when I used to speak to him, he was like his responses were like in 30 seconds.
yeah,
I was like, is it an, like AI speaking to me, or what the fuck? Because it's really, really like impossible.
Yeah.
But basically,
No, that's actually him. Yeah, he just never stops on his phone and on his computer. He's just always in his basement
yeah, he's
coaching
like
people.
Shelby, just doesn't get people hospital dry.
Exactly. Yeah. A little bit less diuretics.
Sorry, had to make this joke.
A lot of bit less diuretics actually.
A lot, a lot.
I'm trying to I don't think Shelby, I'm trying to think if Shelby still coaches a ton of girls. Like
He does. He
I
does.
haven't seen his name around as
He does.
much.
And he
I
does a good, he does a better job than he used to.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Because, he coaches European girls, for example, and he changed
Okay,
a lot. He changed a lot.
good. Yeah, well, if you kill enough of them, yeah, you should.
That's the
Anyways,
truth. That's the truth. Sorry. But that's the last question, because we've been here for a while. What are the goals for you, not the beef, but for the Stuart? As I mean, where can you see your physique as being objective in, for example, by you being 30?
when I'm 30, so like I
Just to
said,
speculate,
I'll probably be injured and retired by then. How about that? um, I
And
mean,
placing twice before?
hopefully. So I'm 5'8". I don't need to put on a ton more muscle to continue to be competitive. Just muscle in certain little spots here and there, a couple pounds a year. And this is this coming year is going to be my first year where I don't have a day job. I'm competing, you know, multiple times in the year. I'm planning on hitting 6 shows. If I win one of those, then I probably won't continue. I'll drop things down and give myself a break to try and prep for the Olympia. But over the next few years, I like when I look at my physique, there's certain things that are good on it, like overall muscularity is good, like shape is good, condition is good, but it's not amazing. Um, but like in order for you to be like winning shows and like be the odds-on favorite to win any show that you're going into, you have to have like some kind of X factor, like you have to be like really freaky or really impressive in some way. Like that's kind of where I want to be in a couple of years from now. Like I want to be the the favorite for any show that I'm entering, that's not like the Arnold or something, um, and be able to consistently qualify for the Olympia. And I do want to compete frequently throughout the year because I think a lot of guys don't do that enough.
Yeah, it gives you
You know, if
recognition, and as well,
yeah, keep
bodybuilding
on
gives
showing your
you a lot
face
of
and
chances to see the world itself.
yeah, exactly. Like if I can continue to like place well in the sport and like, get sponsorships to the point where like, I'm able to go to those European shows and have a sponsor pay for it. Like, fuck yeah, dude. I'm getting to travel the world for free, doing something I love. Like, yeah, sign me up. That's amazing. Um, I, hope hopefully I can get to that level. But I think this next year I have a little bit more tissue on me than last year. Not a ton, a little bit more in the right spots. But like if I can push my conditioning down harder, like just get really, really hard. Because if I don't have all those bells and whistles and like freak factor that some other guys do, I just need to be like the most complete, best flowing, most conditioned guy on stage. And that's what will allow me to win shows. Because I mean, I'm never gonna have like a 28-inch waist. I'm never gonna be 300 pounds on stage. That's not. I'm a white guy. Like I'm a kind of middle of the road genetically. Well, like in the professional ranks at least. Um, I don't have like all of these gifts that guys have who are like consistently winning shows. So I gotta playing my cards, and that means, you know, suffering basically and pushing harder in the diet. I mean, I can say last year when I was prepping for New York and California, like I really didn't push that hard to get in the condition that I got into, because, you know, Blue and I were very concerned, again, because I have a lot of new muscle on me, or I did last year. We were concerned that it would just fall off. You know, I would start losing it if I pushed like and got too flat for too long and just kind of withered away, right? So we didn't want that. So we'd like refeed me and then push down again, refeed, push down, etc. And you know, I got in pretty good condition, but not like super good condition. So yeah, that's the next step for me. Just push harder, pretty much. It's not complicated.
Yeah, people overcomplicate a lot of stuff. Do you still take people under your wings as coaching? Because I know that you started it, but do you still have like, because, you know, in Europe, it's popular to say, I have last 2 spots for coaching.
Oh, they do that
marketing
here
trick.
too. Oh yeah. Yeah, it doesn't work. Unfortunately, I don't do that shit. But yeah, that's my main source of income, is coaching people right now. And you know, it's the middle of December, so there's no shows going on right now. But you're gonna, you know, if you're gonna be doing a spring show, then you know you need to start prep like basically at the beginning of the new year, you know, January kind of time frame. So hit up David or hit up me and get your ass in shape. There's a
Simple as
lot
that.
of, what's that?
Simple as that.
Yeah, there's a lot of in my area up here in Washington, there's a lot of coaches who they run like a team kind of thing, where you know they have like group workouts and they have get-togethers, and you know they give people very generic plans. It's all very similar, and they put like tons of people on stage at these local shows, and they all look terrible. Like 90% of them look terrible. And honest, like I want to, you know, try to like steal some of those clients from people, because they're wasting their money and they look like crap. And it's not like they're not being healthy about things either. You know, they're coaches. Coaches are just idiots. And you know, I want to try to position myself locally here in Washington to kind of like, you know, be the guy that people come to if they're serious about competing. At this, you know, at the local level here, because there's not a ton of bodybuilders around where I am, but there's a lot of people who are doing, you know, men's physique, classic, whatever, and they need coaches. So that's what I'm here for now.
So if anyone wants to contact you, it's the best way to just message you on the Instagram, like beef-stew97.
Yeah, either on there or shoot me an email, and my email's in my Instagram bio. So
Yeah, so just simple as that. Thank you for taking your time, and I wish you just to stay injury-free and not to end up your career too soon. So have a good one.
me
And
too.
I want to watch another podcast, so please keep going.
I think we're going to be doing another one in just a minute here. So
Great, because they are
yeah,
getting, you know, once you come, they are not so mediocre anymore.
thanks.
Have a good one. Thank you.
You too, man.